Today, we're sitting down with an entrepreneur whose journey has sort of sparked from our university days and has grown into a brand that redefines how value is being delivered in Nigeria through the auto and
Yeah.
logistics space. She's a visionary, she's a leader, she's a
Right.
trailblazer, I must say. Please welcome the CEO and founder of Auto Girl,
Thank
Chichi
you.
Arinze.
Thank you.
So before we dive in, right, um, into all the big moves, all the bold decisions, let's take it back to where it
Okay.
all
Mhm.
began, right? So, who was Chichi in university, and what moment or idea first planted the seed of Autogirl,
Hmm.
right?
I think I will start from who I was. Sorry, I will start from what planted the seed of Auto Girl first before I go to who I was. Because what planted the seed of Auto Girl first actually started in the beginning of my university journey. So that actually defined who exactly I was while I was in school. So, Autograph started because I needed money. That's just the facts. When I entered university, in the first year, I think 3 months after resuming school in one of the most expensive universities in Nigeria, they increased our school fees by almost 70%. And then a few months later, I heard that my dad's employer had died. So it means that the major source of income that our family was, living on had been cut off. And my parents had to still figure out a way to make sure that they pay my very expensive school fees. So I had to figure out a way to, help them, support them basically, because if they are carrying the shoulder of that burden of my very high school fees, then I should be able to support them and not stress them when it comes to things like my, personal allowance and all of that. So my mind, I formed a plan immediately. And the plan was my parents will
Oh,
pay
okay.
my school fees. I will pray for them, I pray for them so that they have the provision to pay that school fees. But anything outside of that school fees, they should not worry about it. I'll be fine. I will handle my feeding, my clothes, whatever that needs to be handled, I'll handle that. So the next thing now became, okay, where do I find this money? And that's the importance of a plan. Once you have a plan and you have a set goal, you have it written down, resources to make it happen will come to you. So I had already gotten the plan, make money. So the first thing that started happening is I started seeing opportunities that would help me make money. In short, the first opportunity I saw was an ushering job where I got scammed. Um, Apparently the job didn't exist. The job didn't exist. They put it out there online that, oh, come and do ushering and make this amount of money. I'm like, oh, cool. I want that amount of money. So why not? And it's just to stand and be fine girl in events. But the job did not exist. In short, when I went there for the interview, they collected my phone and my laptop. I never saw my phone, my laptop, and the guy that was meant to interview me ever again till today. So that's happened, but more after that, more opportunities still came. The next opportunity came. I remember the company very well. They're called Gracious Gardens. I think they're even still alive till now. It's a real estate company, and basically, I saw their ad online. They said they needed people to help them sell Ibejuleki lands, and that was when Ibejuleki lands just came up in Nigeria. So it was hot. Like people were like, "Oh, that's the new, the new city. Let's invest." The price was still affordable. Maybe I think at that time it was like a 500K or something, 800K to buy a plot of land there. So I saw it and I'm like, okay, I could get people to buy this. And I mentioned that if you get someone to buy it, you make so percent. I don't remember what the percentage was, but I remember that I'll make so percent. And at that time, that amount was like, wow. I'm like, okay, I can do this. So what did I start doing? I think they had a form that they gave us to fill to become an agent. It was not a paid salary job. It was you make money. You give them customer, you make money. So I started promoting online on social media, on Twitter. If some people even go to my Twitter today and search Ibejuleki, you will see some of those tweets as far back as 2015, 2016. A small girl that's selling
Oh, wow.
lands. So I'll promote it. This is the price, talk. And Finally, someone bought the land. Two people bought, one person bought the land, bought 2 plots of land, but that was the only land I ever sold. But after struggling for years and like, well, not years, but maybe a year, and so I only sold once, and it's two land. I think that I remember the amount for the commission, 100K land in my account, first time ever in my life. But then I realized that there were so many blockers to making money in real estate as a young girl, because I was a young girl and many people did not want to trust their life savings investment, because buying a land is a life saving investment. People take a huge chunk of their life savings to buy land, and nobody's going to be trusting. Very few people will trust a 16-year-old or seven. I think I was 17 years at that time to buy a property. So I had to move from that. And the next one now became car business. The car business opportunity came to me. Also, I did not look for it. I had a guy that I was dating, and he yeah, he used to import cars, I think from Canada that time. So he imported one Range Rover. I remember specifically the car, one old Range Rover. He imported it and he was posting on his status. And I'm like, come, if I sell you this car, will I make a commission? I was like, "Ah, why not? If you sell this car, I'll give you so and so amount." I'm like, I started to calculate all the things I can do with that amount. I'm like, okay, very cool. And then I started promoting that car, pushing it. I did not sell that particular car, but that was the first time I got involved with cars. Once I started posting it, more people started coming to meet me, sell my car, do this, do that. Next thing I met my first employer that saw me on Twitter from trying to sell those cars. He saw me on Twitter. And he's like, "Oh, I want this girl to be part of my business." He's into car business too. And he brought me under his wings and taught me everything I know about cars. And from there, and that's here I am now. So to answer the question about who Chichi was in university, that formed who Chichi was in university. Chichi was an entrepreneur. She was a opportunity. I was looking and searching for opportunities. I don't allow opportunities rest. Anytime I see an opportunity, I pursued it. So everybody knew me as the girl that liked money. She's an entrepreneur. I sold clothes in school too. I sold clothes in school. I sold the vintage shirts. I did, yeah, I did a bunch of businesses. So yeah, that was me in university.
That is interesting. That is interesting. So you essentially first of all said, I want to make money. You made up your mind that, okay, I want to make money. And then you started to carve out a plan for yourself, which you highlighted as the importance of having a plan, right? And firstly, you got scammed at the first opportunity
Yeah.
that opened up,
Yeah.
but you didn't give up. Why didn't you
I
give up?
needed money. And the money had to be made some way.
Well,
Like it just had to be made. And I'm a Christian, so I
uh,
could not make the money illegally. I could not make the
yeah,
money by committing a sin. I had
wow.
to make the money by providing value. So I just had to figure it out.
Yeah, that's interesting. So two things that you highlighted there. So you had to make it, right? And you didn't want to make it by any odd means, right? And I really like that, which sort of takes me to my next question, right? So what's something that people don't often know about your journey that you wish you could actually tell people?
Honestly, being a woman in my position, a lot of people think that that position was gotten from a man. And I don't know that I have, it's not something I wish. I mean, I don't really care if they know, they don't know. The people that know. But yeah, that's, I think that is the major thing. Most people attribute my success to a man. People that don't know me from way back attribute the success to, oh, she probably has a guy that just gave her the cars and she's running the business. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, your first look foray into cars was someone you were essentially dating, and you sort of saw the business opportunity
Yep.
beyond romance, and you were like, okay, let's leave romance
Mm-hmm.
to the side. let's let's talk about
Yes.
this money. That's interesting.
Yep.
That's interesting. And you didn't eventually sell that car, which is something that I find very interesting. And I would say that you come off as a very tenacious person, right? So you didn't actually you were not successful in the initial like bread
Yes.
that was sort of
Yep.
weighed in front of you, right? But you continue to
Mm-hmm.
follow through. With the land, obviously, the
Mm-hmm.
same story follows the same pattern, right? Which is very interesting. So I I want to touch a bit about starting
Yeah.
small, right, and just thinking big because at the end of the day, like what you've sort of like highlighted is how you have seen small opportunities and you're sort of be able to define,
Yes.
redefine, and
Yeah.
all of that. So because because when I think about it, there are many people that start very small things, but then they don't just follow through. So the first one fails, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
like, ah,
Yep.
Nigeria is bad though.
Yep.
People are bad. Like, right. So I would ask, what problem were you trying to solve in the first place when you sort of started
Okay,
Autogirl?
so the truth of the matter is, Autogirl was not designed to solve a problem when it started. It was, well, the problem was meant to dissolve was my personal finances. It was not a grand problem. But then when I got into the market selling cars and I realized that a lot of people would rather not buy these cars. Some people have the need for a car for a month, 3 months. Companies have guests that come into the country for 3 months, 6 months. And buying a car for that period does not really make sense. Companies want to travel. And I'm like, okay, there's a market that people are not seeing. Because everybody was crazy about selling cars. But then there's this other huge market of people that are not satisfied with buying cars, people that do not need to buy cars and they just wish they had a better alternative. And I'm like, okay, this is where I will pitch my tent. So that was where I found that problem.
That's interesting. So essentially, it's morphed from you just trying to solve your own personal finance problem to actually seeing the
Yep,
problem in the market, right? So you didn't even have to work for product market fit. It was like, oh, there is actually this space where people actually need cars for a short period of time, and you sort of
yep.
provided that value, which is very interesting. So how would you sort of curate sort of some of the earliest challenges that you had um in this business, right? So you already knew that there was a product
Mhm.
market fit, right? You had these opportunities here. But what were those some of the early challenges that you can highlight, right? And obviously we know that you are tenacious, so we know what's kept you going already. How were you able to sort of what were those challenges and how were you able to sort of navigate?
Okay, so I think the main challenges has been with the drivers and with the partners. So when we started, we did not control enough vehicles. So we, in short, up to now, 95% of the vehicles on our platform are not owned by us, but they are owned by other individuals that want to make money on the platform. So when I started trying to make people understand that this is a platform, it is not, you're not doing me a favor, it's not a partnership, it's a platform you are coming to make money on. It was hard. The car owners had egos, they had their cars, they did not understand how a young girl would make, change their finances and make them. So they're like, I'm doing you a favor. When you need the car, come and get it. And I'm like, when you need the car, come and get it cannot work on a platform. We need to have rules, we need to have regulation. So getting them to agree was a long thing. It was hard. And when those car owners and drivers don't agree, the service for the customer is bad. So we had to build processes, we had to build system, we had to prove ourselves over again. By the time we had done like 10 million, a car owner had made 10 million. We now showed him that, okay, see this amount you have made. You will start making 0 naira if you don't agree to our terms. And by the time we showed them that, a lot of them were like, okay, what do you want? Hey, the ones that were stubborn were like, I will leave, I will leave. They still came back. Because by the time they left and they saw that extra 20 million we also get they give me, they come again. They're like, oh, I'm sorry I spoke pigeon, guys. I don't really speak pigeon all the time. But they're like, extra, it's not coming. And they now came and I
Please feel free.
They now came, "Well, okay, autograph you want, we'll do it."
Nah,
And then they signed, we got them to sign MOUs, that's memorandum of understanding, got them to sign it, and then now all our partners work the same way, work with the same rules. So that was really the key problem, refining the minds of the partners and the car owners that were to actually give the service.
that is very interesting. Very interesting. I like where you also added some Fijian in there because, like, I mean, it's a formal
Yes.
language in Nigeria. So, I think what I would say to that is like there seems to be a theme
Mhm.
here, right? Where um with the land
Mhm.
situation, they were looking at this
Mhm.
young girl, right? And with this business as well, they were also like looking at this young girl and trying to put an element of disrespect
Mhm.
in there. What sort of like what sort of like kept you like in touch with that respectful? So we know in Nigeria where respect is sort of like a
Mhm.
big deal, right? For elderly people. So what sort of like how did you what are those soft skills that you were sort of like employing before you were able to show them, oh, okay, you're
Mm.
making 10 million. You will make 0 million or 0 naira if you don't adhere to our rules.
Honestly, I know people don't like this answer, but honestly, I had to pray for a lot of wisdom. I had to pray for patience. Sometimes I even lost my patience, I will not lie. That so yeah, I really just had to employ a lot of patience and wisdom and understanding. For some of them, I will send them gifts, send them wine, please, oh, behave yourself now. We're doing a business. We're trying to build a business here that will change both of our lives. So it was a lot of relationship management, personal relationship management, and I did not delegate that to staff. I had to make sure I do it. I show up. I'll go and visit some of the car owners. They're the ones that have 3 to 4 cars. Go and visit them, sit down with them, talk to them, make them feel good. So that was like I did a lot of that work, a lot. Like in lots of my older hosts, I know their houses, I know their offices. Yeah, so I did a lot of that work.
That is very interesting, and I think that is a key life skill and not just a business skill, right? Knowing people, making them feel good, making them feel heard, and also like just trying to also icing the cake as much as you can, because at the end of the day, you're trying to deliver value, but until you're able to show that this value is actually
Really,
a very strong
very
value,
true.
yeah, you need to be able to oil those relationships as best as you can. And I think that that's why you are successful today, right? Because you've been able to do that. And like you said, you still know those people's houses, so you can even
Yep.
go back to those houses today and sort of be like, okay,
Yep.
yeah. But you know what, now this sort of leads me to sort of pivot, right? These skills that you have, that you attained, yes, some of them you were able to gain them through prayer, through reading your Bible and being able to be better. But what sort of background does that come from? Right. So my question is more so, how did you sort of like know that okay, this is the answer? I need to go and pray a lot more. I need to go and think a lot more. I need to do this in this direction because I believe like information is power, right? But some people do not even know where that information is. So, what type of background did you have? What type of support system did you have that sort of made you think in that direction and not just say, "Oh, these
Hmm.
people."
So, the first and most important, I believe, like you said, is I first of all understood that to get wisdom, you need to read, you need to find knowledge, you need to find information. That's the first things first. So, and that actually comes from the Bible, because the Bible proverbs will tell you you need to seek wisdom, you need to seek understanding. So, and now the next thing I went to go and do is look at successful people, people that have gotten to past where I am.
Mm,
What do they say online? What do they say on their YouTube? I saw people like Gary V, people like Alex Omozi, masters in sales, Seth Godin, people that are masters in sales, marketing, and relationship building. And then I started watching their YouTube videos. And, from there, I heard things like, oh, you need to build relationships. You need to make people like you, how to win and create friends, how to win and influence friends. I read those books. So I actually looked for knowledge on relationship building and sales. And that's where I got the key understanding of these things, and I started, implementing them. So those were the two key things that actually informed the that decision or that behavior about, keeping relationships, building relationships, and, fostering those relationships.
Gigi, this is a lot. This is a lot of nuggets that you're sort of
That's
giving to me
so
here. So you mentioned four key elements for understanding and growing in your business. First of all, you mentioned the Bible, which is your foundation, and to acquire wisdom. And you sort of referenced the Proverbs in the Bible where you sort of read about wisdom. And then you did not just stop by reading the Bible, you went on to the second point, which is understanding and watching
yes,
successful people. So you went to their Instagram, you went to their
yes,
YouTube channels, you went to watch how what these people
yes,
are talking about. And then that sort of like spurred you to sort of understanding some of the things that
yes,
they spoke about, which is
yeah,
relationship building,
yes,
sales, how to foster
yeah,
those relationships. So the two key things that bet the rest
yeah,
of those things were like the foundation, wisdom, the Bible, following through Proverbs, and then successful people.
yep,
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And I think for people watching this, right, I would say it's a very key point to be able to pick up on those two things because one thing bets
yes,
another, right? Really, there it's really one
yeah.
thing bets another, and I really, really love that. I really love that.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. So, what systems, right, did you use to sort of keep these tools that you sort of gained
Mm,
over time? So you've talked about these
mhm,
tools, right? You
mhm.
had the Bible, you sort of had successful people, but then that formed your formative
Mhm,
years in business, right? So I've known you for probably like this
mhm.
2025. I think I've known you for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say you've been in business since I've always known you. And you said you started in 2015. So that's
Mhm.
10 years, right? So I would say from you scaling from just
Wow,
being a small
yes.
business owner to being where you are right
Mhm.
now, these skills, how did you create? Did you create systems for re-owning the skills? What are you, how do you learn more? How do you, because I believe in
Mhm.
two things, right? One, what will
Mhm.
got you here will probably not take you
I
to where you
agree.
need to go
I
to,
agree.
right?
I agree.
Right. So you started with this
Mhm.
foundation, but it's probably not going to be the same knowledge that
Mhm.
you got here that's probably going to take you
I
to the
agree.
next phase, right? So what systems did you put in place? Is there like mentors or there what kind of, would I say, methodology do you yourself acquire to sort of say, okay, I'm not going to stay small. I'm going to use this systematic approach to sort of grow from here to the next
Okay.
phase.
As in, I love that question. It's a lot of things. Number one is I look for knowledge a lot. There's one particular saying I heard. I don't know if it's Alex Omozi that said it or Gary V, one of them. But don't take advice from people that are not at the level that you want to be in life. So a lot of times, and this is something that Africans do, take advice from your uncle that is struggling in the village. Take advice for your mom that you're feeding, which is great. I mean, there's some advice you can take, but about when it comes to business money, you need to take advice from people that have been there, done that, past you. Good. Then the next is I took mentors. I have mentors. I have very, very, very successful mentors. And I will not encourage people to go straight into looking for mentors because if you don't have anything to offer, they're not going to answer you. So the first thing I did was I watched them from afar. I listen to their story. I watch their YouTube videos. I read their books. I always figure out ways to get knowledge from them. For example, there's no book that Lex Omozi has brought out in this world that I don't have and I've not read, because it's someone above me and it's someone that I want to get to the stage that he is. So I read books. I have mentors. Then the next thing is, aside from having mentors and reading books, I always make sure I reevaluate myself every month. In short, I start my month and my year with goals. I break my goals for the year into quarters and I break those quarters into months. I do not have it written in my brain. I have it written on a paper, verifiable paper, and my Google Excel sheets. So every time I'm able to come to it and review this month, I was meant to do this. Have I done this? If I have not done this, I need to do this. The next is my PAs. I do not play with that role. I need to have a personal assistant that understands the personal goal I am going towards and is able to work hand in hand with me to for me to meet those goals. So I have monthly reading goals. So every month I must read a particular amount of book per month, and the book has to be related to my goals. So for example, now Autopilot has brought in about 50 electric vehicles for hourly rental in Nigeria. And now my goal is to sell and create offers. So I'm reading books on creating, for example, there's a book from Alex Omozi called $100 Million Offers. I'm reading that book this month because I have to create an offer for these electric vehicles that will catch fire, that will make a lot of money. So I always make sure that my reading, my learning goes hand in hand with my goals. And I have written clear goals, clear, measurable goals. So there is this thing called SMART on how to, it's called SMART, SMART, on how to create goals. And that's an acronym for what your goals should be in order for you to even achieve anything. It's easy to say, oh, I want to become a billionaire in 2 years. Is that specific? Is specific. Is that measurable? Is measurable. But is it attainable? That's the A. If it's not attainable, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's not a real goal. If it's realistic, it has to be realistic and time bound. There has to be timing. You cannot just say, oh, I want to be a billionaire and there's no time. If you say you want to be a billionaire in 2 years, you need to break down how much you will make every month for you to become a billionaire. And then you now need to break down what do you need to do for it to become. If you know you don't have the resources, then you need to refine the goal. So those were the things I used to, set that system up for me to meet my goals and surpass them. Then the last and most important thing, which I believe is very key, is having a partner that can align and follow and help you follow through with your goals. By the God's grace, I'm getting married to someone that helps me follow through with my goals. We have joint goals, and we also have separate goals, and we are both our accountability partner. So if he has a goal, I follow up with him on his goal. When I have a goal, he follows up with me on my goal. So that's the next and most important thing that I believe that anybody needs to have, especially when you're looking towards. Of course, if you're not looking towards getting married, then that's fine. But you need someone. If it's not your partner, then it's your best friend or it's somebody that has like minds, and you guys can have monthly meetings where you're talking about, oh, what did you achieve, that goal that you wrote, did you do anything, what did you do, what's left, so we have those sessions. So yeah, that's basically the systems I've built so far.
That is very loaded and that's very interesting. I couldn't stop writing on my notes, right? So you did highlight a few things that I thought they were very interesting. So looking for knowledge, be desperate about looking for
Yes,
knowledge. Also looking at people that have been there, done that, right? There is people, whatever industry that you are in, and if there is no one in your industry, then look at people that have the same mindset or probably the same
exactly,
story and they've applied that in their
exactly.
field, right? So for example, for myself, right, I have a very
Mm-hmm.
similar story to an athlete called
Hmm.
LeBron James, right? And although I do not play basketball, I'm 6'2". I did not play basketball. LeBron is 6'9", right? Uh, right. Although I did not play basketball, his mindset on greatness has sort of affected
Mhm.
my life in terms of how I
Mm.
do things, right? And so he talks about things like, firstly, whatever you choose to do, right, do
Mm.
it well. Secondly, he highlights the subject. He highlights the subject on the results that you
Mhm.
see is an accurate reflection of the work that
Mm.
you have put in. Like it's
Yes.
literally
Very
there is no two ways about it. It's like your results are an accurate reflection of the work that you've put in. So if you've put in 9 months into studying, right, your results, no matter how clunky they look, they would reflect that nine
yes.
months of study that you have
Yep.
put into it, right? So, like, just focusing on those things. Now, like I did highlight, I'm not a basketball player, but this mindset sort of has helped me to sort of see, well, in the in every field and in everything that I choose to do, right, I'm going to put in
Mhm.
110%, right? Now, when the results do not favor me, I realize, well, it's not because of my percentage that I
Mhm.
didn't put in. It has to do with probably the other
Mhm.
person or other factors that I could not
Yes.
control.
Yep.
Do you see what I'm saying? So essentially, like I fully agree with you. And you did mention a few more things like
Yes.
reading books. Reading books help, right? Behind me, as you can
Yeah.
see, there's loads of books that I read within technology, within starting a business, like Simon Sinek, Start
Mhm.
with Why, right? Money management, the
Yeah.
psychology of money, right? In technology, there's a few books. I don't want to bore you with those. But I think one thing that you mentioned that was really important was reevaluating yourself on a monthly basis, right? And I really love that. It's like, how do you because it's like, I say this, and a couple of my friends say this: what you don't write down, you cannot measure. And what you cannot measure, you cannot
Exactly.
improve.
Exactly.
So, first point is you need to
Mhm.
write it down. Secondly, that writing down helps you to be able to measure where you have
Mhm.
gone wrong, right?
I
Or what you have
agree.
done right. And because you've been able to measure that, now you
On
can
it.
improve upon that,
Yes.
right? So it's three steps. You need to write it down, you need to measure it, and you need to be able to improve, or you can decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to take the
Yes.
next step, right? And I think that's really important. And you did mention something that I think was also important, whereby you spoke about your PA working in
Yeah.
tandem with you. I think people do not realize the effect of those people
Oh, yeah.
around us. The people that are closest to us affect the outcomes
I
of
agree.
our lives. And I think people find it very interesting when they say, you know what, I can party with my boys on the weekend, and then during the weekdays, I'm going to just do
Mhm.
110%. The summary of that over the next 10 years is that you would start to see your life going in one direction. It's either you start becoming more of a party person, or you start to give 110% into your work. You
Mhm.
cannot do both. so, so it's really a summary of the people that are around you and how what are they saying to you the moment that you're weak. And this brings me to sort of like the next questions that I have for you. And I really want to sort of highlight this here. There is a Bible verse, or there is a chapter
Okay.
in the Bible where I forget the full chapter. It talks about the old prophet and the
Okay.
new prophet,
Yeah.
right? And so this new prophet, vibrant prophet, he had gone through a process where he had sort of helped the king to do
Okay.
some things, and God sort of
Mhm.
spoke to him and said three things to him. One, do
Mhm.
not eat, do not drink, and do not go back the same way
Mm.
that you came, right? Do not use the same way that you came to go back. What you should do is go back home. Don't eat, don't drink, go back home this in a different direction that you came. Now, this
Mhm.
new prophet was okay and he was tired and he started to make that journey. There was another old prophet,
Mhm.
right? He told the king that he's not going to eat. He told the king he's not going to drink. He told the king where he was going. But an old prophet came to him and said to him, dude, God
Mm-hmm.
told me that you should come and eat and drink, right? And he was tired. And he was like, God told me to go home and I shouldn't eat, I shouldn't drink, I shouldn't do this. But he went back because of the old prophet told him to go back. What am I trying to bring out of this? The summation of that is that God actually rebuked him when he went back to the old prophet's house
Mm.
and he ate. The summation of what I'm trying to bring out here is this: the people around you, they they sort of influence 51% of
I
decisions that
agree.
you make. And I put 51 as an accurate number because that environment sort of shapes
Yes.
who you are. What what the new prophet did not realize in that moment was he had an instruction
Mm-hmm.
from God. You have the things that you want to do in your life today. You have those desires, those things that your parents have prayed for you, they've declared over your life, even when you were probably in the
Mm-hmm.
tummy. But those things can never come to pass if you have the
I
wrong
agree.
people around you, right? Or you are listening to the wrong ideals, or you're paying attention to things like
Yeah.
the old prophets,
Yep.
right? You need to pay attention to what God has put inside of you,
You are
what journey you
all.
are sort of
Yeah.
trying to go through, and how you want to go,
I
go
agree.
about it. Which sort of like leads me to my next set of questions, right? So, as a CEO right now, how do you sort of balance innovation? Like you did mention there that you have a goal of 100 million for these new cars that have sort of come. How do you sort of balance that with operational execution? Because it doesn't stop what is currently
Mm-hmm.
ongoing, right? There is work that is already
Exactly.
ongoing that you which is basically where you
Mm-hmm.
started from with all your
Mm-hmm.
partners, right? How do you balance? Oh, now I need to pivot. I need to make sure like I'm working on these new goals. But how do you now balance to make sure that it doesn't drop a notch? The work that you're doing does not drop any notch, right? Which is your operational excellence
Yeah,
daily.
so I mean, this is something I've even spoken to my team several leaders. The fact that we have this new project on does not mean that our business suffers. So we have team members that are in charge of things that they are meant to do. And me myself, I am having to do like a full oversight. I should have had to even include in my schedule a 2 hours oversight where I review everybody's daily reports. So it's not easy. It's taking adjustments, but we are getting there. But for the operational excellence, we have an operations support team. They're a 247 team of 4 people currently. We plan to scale them up soon. But they're a 247 team of 4 people, and they also have a team lead that makes them five. So for operational excellence, that is always going to be sorted. That is their entire goal. Make sure customers are okay, make sure any complaints is attended to on time, make sure a replacement vehicle is sent within an hour once a customer complains about any downtime or anything like that. So there's a team specifically for that. But believe me, you are right. Getting to balance that and new projects that require skill is not easy, and we are still currently in that process.
That is interesting, and I like the fact that you're already thinking in that direction. So, and you're also trying to upskill
Yeah.
the people that are in the environment as well, because it comes back to the same ethos as yourself, whereby you are growing yourself, you're reading books, you're trying to do this. So that also shows in the level of people that you bring on
Yes.
board as well, and you're also trying to make them upskill themselves and improve
Mm.
themselves as well, which is kudos
Thank
to you
you.
as well. All right. So I would I would love to ask you, what's been your proudest moment so far
Mhm.
since you started AutoGirl in terms of, say, this journey that you started? What's sort of been your proudest moment so far?
And I think I have a couple of them, but one that really sticks out is the Auto Women Empowerment Program that we did last year. It was such a big moment for me because I could see the work that I am doing impacting the lives of women that are getting a better head start than I did while I was starting the transportation business. So yeah, that really made me proud. Seeing especially the final events where we gave them grants money to kickstart their career and all of that, and like everybody was around because of a plan that I came up with. You know, news, media, and all of that were around, and it was just really wow. It was wow. Then the next proud moment I've had is when we won 10 million naira grants money in December last year. That's also really made me very happy and proud. I think those are the main core proud. Oh, another proud moment was when we moved into our office. The first time I came to the office and I saw like 30 of my staff there, I'm like, wow, this small girl is not in Madam Bo. I saw 30 of my staff sitting down, open office, and like everybody was busy making calls. And I'm like, where am I? What did I just step into? That was also a very proud moment too.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I must say that I'm very proud of you. Very, very
Yeah.
proud of you. Like from the woman that I sort of knew 2017 up until now, it's interesting to see how God really builds and makes people, because everything, it seems, it's to people that probably just met you or they just know you through the internet, they probably think, oh, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
some guy probably gives out all these cars and things like that, or they make up stories. And that's why these interviews are super important, because it, for anyone that really wants to start, for anyone that is thinking in that direction, or anyone that sees you as a mentor, can sort of watch these interviews and probably see, wow, so I can
Yeah.
actually do this. So this know that I got is
Yep.
not the end of the road for me. So this thing that has
Mm-hmm.
gone bad, or this business
Mm-hmm.
that has gone bust, is not the
Yes.
end of it. Like Chichi had a problem, or she got scammed, her phone was stolen, all of that. It now sort of builds that muscle of, you know what, whatever wants to happen, let it happen. I'll
Yes.
still get there. You see
Yes.
what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
um, and I like your story, and we'll come back to that because that's really important. Where you have the Auto Girl or the Auto Women Empowerment Program, we're gonna come back to that. But I really just wanted to zone in on, what would you say your 80/20 moment is? So accurate, that 20% that sort of creates, and that 80% impact that you're sort of looked at. If you could just use one scenario, maybe it's a small thing that you sort of thought about and you sort of just created it, and you're just like, okay, put a few things together. But then it sort of created this 80% impact, right? And you were sort of like looking at it, like, this is how I want to look at it.
See, there are many scenarios in my life that brings that to mind, and I'll just give one example, and that's with the grants money that we won last year. So I have done applications to maybe 100, 200 grants, and that was the first major win, and that is showing you that you can do 100% efforts, but only 20% will give you what those 100%, what you needed from the others. Because an example is that I applied for many small grants, even applied for grants for as low as 100K, because really it's free money. And me, I'm like, okay, I just do. So I applied for many small grants, and finally, the grant that actually came was a grant that I did not really spend so much time applying for it, because I already have a template for applying for grants applications. I've spent, some time building that template for grants applications. So all I need to do is just go out and, pursue those grants. So that small work of taking the time to, prepare my grant applications and looking and applying for different opportunities is what brought about that result. And that result also brought about this office space that we are using, because we use the grant money to get our office space, to outfit the office space. And now we have an office space. And now that we have the electric vehicles, it would have been chaotic if we started looking for an office space right now, because we need the office space now that we have the 50 vehicles that they came. So now that we have those vehicles, the office is here to operate the vehicles. So yeah, that's an example of something that I've done that, that actually has the 80/20 rule. Yeah, yeah,
That is very interesting. And it really still goes back to your ethos, right? Putting in that effort. Because if you didn't get the no's in the first place, you probably wouldn't even have had a template for applying
exactly,
to grants, right? And because you applied to it, right, knowing that, I might get it, I might not get it, but it's fine. I put in my
exactly.
best foot forward. You now have, you had 10 million in
Mhm.
your locker that you're able to now say, okay, now I can now create an
Yes,
office space with 30
yes,
members of staff.
yeah.
That's amazing.
30
30
rand
human
means what?
beings are there and uh, and they are able to comfortably say, I work
Yes,
with Autogal. That is amazing. That
yes.
is amazing. You know, I wanted to ask a bit more personal question. What would you say is your personal competitive advantage?
Uh,
I asked that because obviously we've talked
mhm.
about a lot, but what is that personal competitive advantage that, what, if everything goes bust today, I know that, what, I'll be fine because this thing is what I am made up
Two
of.
things. Two things. You will not find somebody that can sell better than me. I will sell anything. I just need to make
Ah,
up my mind that, bro, I need to sell this. I will sell it. You will not find anybody that will sell better than me. Secondly, you will not find anybody more tenacious than me. I thrive on those. Like, I expect it. It does not do anything to me. It does not phase me. I will go for a competition, lose. I will still go for another one. There are a lot of people that will be like, In short, I remember one day I posted one grant that I won or something like that. And then someone was like, how do you even keep on winning these grants? I've applied for so many, I did not get. And I'm like, okay, how many did you apply for? She applied for 3 grants. I'm like, ma'am, in my lifetime in entrepreneurship, I've done more than 300. As in all the grants people, they should even know my name by now. I've applied for any and almost any grant that also girl can apply for in Nigeria. That is allowed for Nigerians. I've applied for it. So I'm very tenacious and I don't take no for an answer. So those two things are my sales skills. And I think that's what helps sales for me. Because when you meet someone that she's tenacious and she doesn't take no for an answer and I'm aware of the value I can give you, there's really not much you can do to say no to me except you can afford the service. So yeah, those are my two major competitive advantage. Yeah.
that is amazing, Chichi. That is amazing. It's like, what? There's
No,
nothing
no,
I
I
can
can
sell.
survive is legal and it has value,
And
I'll sell
then
it. Yeah.
that is interesting. That is interesting. I mean, I'll come for it. I'll come to learn sales speech from you one day because that is interesting. And to be honest, tenacity is really, I believe, one core skill that I think everyone
Yes.
should have. Right? You have to be tenacious. Like you have to have a very
Yes.
strong mind. I think sometimes people say things like, "Oh, if they tell me no." Like I can start crying. I'm like, okay, you can cry, but then crying is not going to
So
solve the problem, right? So, or people or someone says, "Oh, this thing does not make me happy." I'm like, well, it's life. Not everything will make you happy. Like there's ups and downs, there's things like that, and when you deal with people, like it doesn't make the other person a bad person, but it's simply just being able to like manage the situation,
mhm,
right? So which sort of leads me to my next set of questions. What you one your what's one advice that you would give to young female founders, right, that have this dream? So they might not be necessarily have the same
mhm,
idea that you had, right? But then the mechanics remain the same. How would you what are those what's one advice that you would give? They have limited resources like you did at the start. What's one advice that you would give to a young female entrepreneur
mm.
today?
You can do it. My advice would be you can do it. It's going to be hard. Growing anything, whether you're a man or you're a woman or you're an hermaphrodite, whatever you are, growing a business, doing anything worth it is extremely hard.
Yeah.
It is very, very hard. So you need to prepare yourself and prepare your mind that this thing is hard. It's going to be hard, but I will be harder than it and I will get to where I need to get to. And then you keep your eyes on the goal. Because things will happen. It will happen. But you need to make sure your eyes is on the goal and you are always working towards that goal. That's all you need. That's really all you need. And then you also do not need money to start a business. I already gave an example of the businesses I started without any money. All I had was social media, a social media account, and a phone. Once you have that, you can start anything you want to start, and grow from there.
That's very interesting. Thank you. And it sort of just wraps up like what you were saying in the first place, right? Just once you already like you've put your mind to it, have a plan. And once you have a plan, just start to go. And it comes back to your tenacious part. It's like eyes on the
Yeah.
prize. Let's every other thing will happen. So many different things
Yes.
would occur, so many things will happen
Yes.
in your life. So but then just have a
Mm-hmm.
plan and stick to that plan and stick to
I
what
will.
your goals are
Yep.
and you'll be fine. And at the end of the day, not everyone is going to get capital. Not everyone would have an uncle, auntie,
Yes.
father, mother, or a friends and family that can raise their
Yes.
first round, right? But just eyes on the prize. And if you have
And
that,
easy use it.
fantastic. But eyes
Yes.
on the prize, you may, right, use it, utilize it to
Yes.
the best. So what's one thing that you would do differently if you were to start, say, you wanted to start a new business today or a
Hmm.
new venture, or say, like, Auto Girl is great, it now runs on its own. You can sort of say, okay, you know what, I, w- I want to start a new business today. What's one thing that you would do differently?
I
Or one thing that you would do
Mm,
exactly the same?
yes, because one thing I'll do exactly the same is start small. Because I want to say one thing I'll do differently, I don't know, honestly. Because not because everything I did was perfect, but because everything I did was orchestrated by God. And like even the things that I would have felt maybe years ago that I should have done differently, years after, I now figure out that yeah, if I did not do this thing like this would have happened. I think the only thing I
Mm.
think I can get better at, that I should have gotten better at quicker, was patience and building a structure early. Yes, actually, that's actually is what I'll do differently. I will build a structure early. When I started the business, I started the business like it was just me, although which truly it was just me. But you can start a business and it's just you and have an email address for finance, have an email address for HR, have an email address for customer care so that there's a structure. And once people start coming in, you start handing over those email addresses and standard operating procedure to them. That's, I wish I started that way. One thing I would do the same way is start small. Don't enter a business fire brigade and come with all your life saves and boom. Yeah, no. I start small, I pilot. Even this EVs we pilot. We start with five. How does five do? Then we say, okay, let's take 20. How does 20 do? Then we grow like that. So yeah, those are the things I would do.
That is interesting. So, one thing you would do the same is that you would
Yes.
start small, right? And the basic element of starting small is having a
Yes.
pilot, right? And you also mentioned the things that you would do differently is acquire patience. Not every one of us is patient, and also having a good structure around you. And even if it's your one person business, but then making sure that you plug in the holes. That is very, very
Mhm.
interesting. Let me ask you this, and you know what? Let me go back to something that you sort of said, which is the
Okay.
empowerment program, right? What was your passion behind that? Because I would ask it this way: nobody helped you when you were starting. Why did you want to start to empower?
So I'm very passionate about women, and I know that if I don't know, I was just I think I'm lucky, I'm blessed, because if I was not directed the right way, because I needed money, I could have gone into things that I should not have been into. But for some reason, and by the grace of God, I was able to be led to something that has built this. So I wanted to give other women the opportunity because I could see what a vulnerable position for a woman could look like. And I could see how dangerous that was or is to a woman. So, and I could see the way this industry has changed my life. It has really changed my life. I know the things that I could not have think of affording before, and now I can afford them. And I'm like, okay. Next thing I also thought of is these talents that I'm training, I need them in my own company. So I decided build a program where you train women for free to become drivers and to become mechanics. At the end of the program, employ some of them into your company so that they can work as interns and maybe start up their careers and become managers, of which two out of those women became managers in my company. So that's really where that whole thing started from.
That is massive. So essentially, you brought out two things from that. You created a resource pipeline. That is, you created a pipeline for people to, one, basically affect your job, right, or your company, but also for them, for themselves, right, for them to be able to create value for themselves as well, that is start a career. So they become either drivers or they become mechanics, that is people that actually fix
Mhm.
cars, right? That is very interesting, very, very interesting. And I think that's another attribute of you that is very, very, very commendable. So I would say this for everyone that probably watches this as well. Thank you for being human and sort of seeing what that could have done to you and
Yes.
eliminating that for other people as well, because it obviously you see the position that you're in, and you see, like, it's a unique position, and you're not taking that for granted and sort of saying, you know what, I don't care. Like, everybody. I think there's a phrase in Nigeria that you say, "All man for
Mhm.
himself,"
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. All right, and and the reality is, like, that can be said, right? That can be said. So, but then you didn't take that route, and I really, really, really wanted to commend
Thank
you
you.
on that, because that's really a noble part of you. Now, I'll just ask you to sort of bring all of this to a head, right? If you could sort of speak to your younger self today, what would you sort of tell your younger self?
Ah,
If you had sort of like, what would you tell your younger self?
I'll tell that Chichi you'll be proud. You'll be proud. Your work is going to pay off. I'm not even successful now, but I know that in the next 5 years too, I would have so much more great things to tell myself. So yeah, I'll just tell myself, calm down. You'll be successful. You'll be fine. You'll be proud of yourself. Your parents will be proud too. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, I think I like to ask this question to a lot of my
Okay.
guests, right? What do you think? This is 2025. We're recording this in 2025. What is what does Chichi Auto Girl personal life? What does that look like in 2035?
My
That's 10
isn't
years from now.
Chichi or Auto Girls or Auto Girl as a business.
Anyone you're comfortable speaking about, or
Okay, so
even
for
both.
Autogol as a business in the next 10 years, we'll be in at least 20 to 30 African countries. We'll have electric vehicles across those countries. We'll also have ICE vehicles across those countries. We'll be popular for serving businesses across all of these countries as well. For Chichi personally, I'll be married happily with maybe two kids maximum. That will be twins in the mighty name of Jesus. And
Go
Yes.
ahead.
And yeah, we would travel occasionally once a year for vacation. I'll be happy. And yeah, that's what life is gonna be like in the next 10 years.
Well, Chichi, I appreciate you for coming through on this interview, and I appreciate you for sharing so much depth that you have. Um, I look forward to seeing so many good things that you would do. I look forward to also continuing to clap for you from
Thank
wherever
you.
I am and continue to also like explore opportunities as well. This was a fantastic interview. It just shows how much depth of a person that you have. And I hope that all the women that are sort of watching, even the men or people that are sort of watching, sort of pick up a few things from you. You stated a lot of things, looking for knowledge, which is how you started. From people who have been there, done that. You've read a lot of books. You also have your framework that you sort of review, where you have sort of measurable goals, and you have sort of make them using the SMART
Mm-hmm.
acronym, right? Making sure that they are time bound, they are realistic, the actions that you're going to take, are they measurable as well? Are they specific
Mm-hmm.
as well? You also have monthly reading
Yes.
goals, right? And creating goals for even each of your endeavors, that is, even each of your
Yes.
businesses and even in your
Yeah.
personal life as well. And the people around you, surrounding yourself with the right people. Congratulations on your engagement
Yeah.
again. And I wish you a fantastic, blissful, like happy married
And
life. And I think one thing that you also mentioned that I think is very important is having a partner that not only sees you for who you are today, but sees who you can
yes,
become. But not only just sees, but can
behind
support you
that,
to become
yes.
that person and sort of keep you accountable to become
Yes.
that person. And I think even for me and other people is actually making sure that you're searching for the
Mhm.
right place,
Mhm.
for the right person
Mhm.
in the right places. And you're also making sure that those are the
Mhm.
tangibles that essentially make you
Yes.
become who you are. Because like there's a lot of noise, like in terms of making sure that you're choosing
Yes.
the right partner. But I think the things that you sort of mentioned are sort of like the
Yes.
intangibles when it comes to that. And I really, really am proud of you and
Thank
congratulations
you so
once again.
much.
So this is this is where we
Yeah.
come to a head. I would say if you have any final words, please share with the
Yeah, just
audience.
keep on trying, keep trying. It's a numbers game. That's just what it is. A numbers game. Life is a numbers game. Whatever goal you're going for, you have to do 100x the efforts to get that goal. So yeah.
Thank you. So, I think you did mention something that I would love for you to mention at the end here, where is like your mentors and the books that you have read from your mentors, right? Those books, do you want to highlight any one of them that you have sort of read?
So for
Um,
me, mostly I read sales books. So I don't know about you guys. I have books. The books I would recommend are sales books and also books for business owners. So the Extraction is a book for structure, for business owners. I think the last name of that person is Gino Man or Gino Wickman. That's the author. Then there is $100 million offers, $100 million leads. Both books by Alex Omozi. Um they sell like crazy by a guy called Sobri. Those four books, I think they've been very key in they've been very, very key. And then the next is you need to watch videos. I watch a lot of videos from great men like Alex Omozi, Gary V, Seth Godin. And then in my industry, I watch people in my industry too, like the Uber CEO. I watch a lot of his videos. I watch videos from CEO of Airbnb too as well. Too as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Well, this is where we'll come to an end. Thank
You're
you so much,
welcome.
Chichi. Thank you for sharing so much depth. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate you.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Cheers.
Bye.